Hello and welcome to the second episode of Buying My Freedom. We're calling this episode Stop Burning My Money. We're going to talk about the best way for me to stop burning my money. So without further ado, let's take a nice good look at my new debt thermometer dashboard. But it's got some pretty cool features here. We'll go ahead and just break this down really quick, tell you about my sources of debt and how all that plays into the bigger picture. So in the corner here, you can see a total debt calculation of $22,305.31. If you watched the last video, you would know that I had told you that my total debt was about $19,000. That was without me calculating for the margin loan. The margin loan I consider good debt because we're working to convert the high interest debt to low interest debt. Most of these other things are about 30% APR. My margin loan is about 5.5% APR. If you look up next to the total debt here, we have the interest counter. It's a good little scare tactic and visualization tool for how much money is being burned every single second that you hold on to this debt. So I thought that was pretty neat. But anyway, let's go into the overall breakdown here. So, debt totals: Affirm $5,994.57. Amazon $2,974.58. Chase $5,819.76. Capital One $3,000. And my margin loan total is $4,516.40. You might look at this and be like, but Steven, why is the Capital One a straight number with no decimals? Why is it so clean? That's because the Capital One card is my primary spending card. The actual amount of debt on it fluctuates from week to week. It goes from about $3,000 to a $3,400 balance. So I budget about $300 to $400 for my weekly expenses. Now, if we go into this toggle switch, we can see a comparison of the original amount of debt versus the current amount of debt. So this comparison is based off of the debts that I started with today before I went ahead and paid my bills. So the original amount of debt we were working with was $23,227.14, and now we're down to $22,305.31. And that math might be a little bit off just because Affirm calculates things kind of weird. But that's okay. That weirdness actually plays in my favor. So if we look here, this is another good visualizer tool, another way to look at the overall landscape of how the debts play into each other. I thought this speedometer dashboard was just a really cool way to look at it. This dashboard is actually for comparing your debts now versus what they were. It's another little motivator. So if you look here, there's actually a faded color green on the margin loan. So the brighter color is the current total, the faded color is the old total. And you can also see that there are faded colors on the Affirm and the Amazon card, because I've paid towards those today. And then last but not least, over here we have our donut chart, which gives you an idea of what percent of the overall total everything is. Another nice way to visualize it. It also tells you how much interest you're paying per month, roughly, and per day. And then over here, it goes ahead and tells you how much interest you're paying on each debt source every single year. All right, so now that we've done that, we're going to go ahead and move on into my spreadsheet, and I'm going to tell you about what the plan is for debt paydown. Like I mentioned earlier, the debt paydown the plan is to convert our high interest debt into low interest debt. Basically, what this consists of is a two-pronged approach. We're going to be using our stock portfolio as collateral, and they allow you to take out personal loans as margin. So you're using the base total of your whole stock portfolio as collateral for that loan, just like you would for a normal margin loan. So the plan is we will buy a certain amount of stock at the end of every month to increase that total, which increases our margin buffer, and that will also increase our weekly dividend total, which will go towards paying down the margin, which also increases the buffer. And then I'm also paying down the margin every single week with whatever's left out of my paycheck at the end. So at the end of March here, what we're going to do is we're going to borrow $700 to buy $700 of stock. And this number might change depending on what the portfolio value is. We're looking to buy up to a round number. And then we will borrow an additional $1,300 to pay towards a firm. And the plan is to have $700 available to go towards that Affirm payment as well. So we'll be paying down a total of $2,000. And then we'll just rinse and repeat the process with numbers that vary for all of our debt sources. So at the end of April, $1,000 goes towards the portfolio, $1,300 towards a firm, an additional $700 to make $2,000, paying that down. End of May, $1,000 to the portfolio, and then we clear the Affirm debt completely. That'll be our first cleared off payment because we're doing the avalanche method here. So we're taking our biggest debts and paying those down first. By the end of June, we'll do another 1,000 to the portfolio, and then we'll pay $2,000 towards our Chase card, bringing us down to about $4,000. At the end of July, $1,000 to the portfolio, $2,000 towards Chase, that leaves $2,000 remaining. And then at the end of August, magic happens. $1,000 to the portfolio, $2,000 to Chase, and it's clear. So now we have half our debts gone, more than half the total's gone. At the end of September, $1,000 to the portfolio, $3,000 towards the Amazon card, and it's clear. End of October, $1,000 to the portfolio, $3,000 towards the Capital One card, and it's clear. And then we're clearing our way for the new strategy. No more bad debt. So the goal from this point forward is going to be to pay down our margin total. And while we're paying down our margin total, we're also going to try to increase that portfolio value more with the remaining year and change that we have. Because I don't want to start my plan for actually going heavy into my investing for the 10-year retirement until we get to January of 2027. And as you can see here, I have plans to increase the monthly payments on that significantly. So yeah, that's a really basic breakdown of what's going on with this. Next week, we're going to do a portfolio breakdown. I wanted to do that this week, but I just don't have time. Yeah, if you enjoyed the video, please like, subscribe, leave a comment, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of your week.